So in this video, we're going to build an estimate calculator. We'll use moving company as an example here. This video is not intended to be a blueprint to be used for a moving company or anything like that. The purpose of this video is to give you all the building blocks necessary to be able to build an estimate calculator, which you should hopefully be able to modify to fit whatever it is that you're trying to do. Now, it's also going to be useful for you to have basic spreadsheet skills. So I'm going to add a link in description so you can follow and learn some basics if you don't already have that knowledge. Now, with that said, let's get started. So I'll start by laying out a table here. We'll do something like unit size, and I'll list different types of houses or apartments, whatever you want to call these. And we'll add some sort of base fee for all of these. Doesn't matter what these numbers are. The whole point is that you should be able to come back and modify these fees if you want. I'm also going to add a column here for estimating packing material cost for each one of these unit sizes. So basically, we'll start with our base fee. So depending on a unit size, we'll have some base fee to start from. And if they need packing material, we'll also add this cost for packing material to that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add another table for some large items like bed, fridge, and things like that. And we'll have the fee for each one of these. And for this, we'll also add potential packing material fee, similar to unit. So far, these would be item-based prices. Now, we also probably want to have some sort of charge for the distance. So depending on how far we're going to have to move these items from their original location, we'll have some sort of charge per mile or something like that. We may also want to have some sort of minimum. So for example, if wherever we're moving this, it's going to be, let's say, 70 miles away, then it's going to be $70. But let's say if it's 2 miles away, then we probably, instead of charging $2, want to have some sort of minimum. So the next thing I want to add to this is if we have to basically go up and down stairs, because it's going to be harder to move these items if we have to move them upstairs and downstairs, obviously. So we're going to add that here someplace. I'll basically just type the number of floors we have to go up and down. And I'll add a column, which will be basically the percentage upcharge we're going to do, depending on how many floors that's going to be. And finally, we may want to set some sort of minimum overall charge. So if the whole thing after calculation ends up being lower than a certain number, we want to at least charge that minimum. So I'll just add minimum charge. Now, generally speaking, I would probably just have them laid out like this, going left to right, the way I have them at the moment. But since I want to do this for this tutorial and I want you to be able to see what is actually happening, I'm going to do Command X and move this here someplace. And also I'll move these other charges so it all sits on a single screen. And I'll just rename this worksheet, call it fees. So based on this fees outlined, now we want to create a calculator. So I'm going to create a new sheet. I'm going to call it estimate calculator. So now we need to figure out choices we're going to have to make in this calculator. So the first thing is going to be to choose the unit size. So we'll create a dropdown right here. So I'm going to go data validation, and here list from a range. And right here, we're going to go to that fees and select these options. I am going to go a little more in case we want to add more. So I'm going to press OK, reject any other input, and hit save. So now we should be able to get a dropdown of different options. Next, we'll have a section for large items and quantities for each. So I'll just basically just copy this, paste it here, and we'll do quantity. We'll have a checkbox whether packing material is needed or not. So I'm going to click in here, go to data validation again, and switch this to a checkbox. Reject any other input, hit save. Next, we want to have some sort of distance. That will be some sort of number. We'll enter in the cell. And then finally, we're going to need this. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to add a 0 here. As one of those options. So again, I'll go to the other worksheet here. Add some space for this. And again, we'll do some sort of drop down here. List from a range. I'll click here, go to here, and select all the possible options here. Go a little more, just in case we want to have more options here. Reject any other input, hit save, and now we should have that drop down here. So right now, I'll just select 0. I'll just enter some sort of distance, and we'll enter some quantities. So now, based on these entries, we need to estimate our total. So first, we have to go get the total for 2-bedroom unit, which will be our base fee from here. For 2-bedroom, that should be $250 right there. So I'll do it right here. Maybe we'll just call it fee. And for that, we'll do a VLOOKUP. We'll point to this value over here that's selected, comma, go to our fees, highlight this table of units. Again, I'll go a little lower here in case we want to add more. We'll do comma 2 to grab base fee from the second column and comma 0 for exact match. Hit enter. That should get us that 250 from here. Now, if I go back and switch this to 3-bedroom, that should update to 300, which is this right there. I'm going to go back to 2. Now, next, I'm going to take care of this distance. So we have the 67. So we need to take that and multiply it by how much we charge per mile, which is this $1. So I'll go here and do equals. We'll take that 67 and multiply it. And we'll go to fees and click on that $1 right there. Hit enter. That should be $67. $1 per mile. We got 67 miles. Now, if this distance is, let's say, 13 miles, that's going to be 13. But if you remember, we wanted to have this minimum charge, which is $35. So for that, I'm going to go here and we'll create a max function and we'll say, let's grab that, comma, or we'll go to fees and grab that minimum fee. Close parentheses, hit enter. And now you should see that it says $35 with 13 distance. So if I go to 25 distance, it should be the same. But if I go to, say, 54, at that point, we're going to grab that calculation of multiplying distance by price. Good, this works. So I'm going to skip stairs and packing material for now. We're going to add those in the end. For now, let's take care of these. So again, if this is one fridge, we need to go from here, grab the fee for a fridge, 115, and move it over here. So we'll just go ahead and first do a VLOOKUP. I'm going to point to that item, comma, and then I'll go to fees. We'll select this table. Maybe, again, I'll go a little lower in case we add more, comma, and I'm going to do column number 2 for a fee, and we'll do 0 for exact match. There we go. That should get us the right fee for this. Now, we want to make sure we multiply it by quantity, because if this was 2, the fee should be 2 times this amount. So therefore, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to multiply it by this quantity. And I'm not going to drag this down, at least not yet. So that should be 230. If I switch this to 1, it should be 115. So now we want to apply it for all of these items. So we'll just quickly convert this to an array function. So instead of A9, I will do A9 colon A20 or so. So if you're planning to have things below this someplace, then you want to make sure you have some sort of cap how far this goes. Like 20 would be good. In my case, I'm not planning to have anything else below, so I'll just drop that to just go all the way. And then I'm going to do that same size here for this B. So I'll do colon B to go all the way down in that column. And finally, to make this array calculation, we're going to do Control-Shift-Enter or Command-Shift-Enter and hit Enter. Now that should work for these lines, except that now we have all these NAs. So we want to take care of those. So I'm going to go back here and just do a quick if statement here within this array formula. So I'll do if this range, I'll drop the end, equals blank, comma, then I'm going to leave it blank, comma. Otherwise, we'll do this VLOOKUP. So I'll go after this whole thing, close parentheses, hit enter, and now we shouldn't have those NAs. So at this point, we can just go ahead and select this and make it currency, and that should be our fees. So for example, we have 2 full-size beds. The fee for each right here is $65. Because we have 2, it's 65 times 2. So that works. So now if we add all of this together, we will get some sort of total, whatever that number is. And then on top of that amount, if we change this to different floors instead of 0, if we have to basically climb stairs, then we're going to do that percentage on top of these. You might want to first add packing material cost on this and then add the percentage. But I don't think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll just do it for the rest of them, and then we'll add packing material on top. So for that reason, I'll leave this one last. I'll do stairs next. At this point, I'm going to grab all of these, get the total, and then multiply that by the percentage we get from here. Now first, let's get that percentage. So I'm going to go here and do another VLOOKUP. I'm going to point to that 0 currently, comma. We'll go to our fees. We'll select, again, this table. Again, I'm going a little over just in case we add more. We'll do comma 2, comma 0. Hit enter. Now this was formatted as dollar amount. So let's for now just change this to percent. So if I go and switch this to 2, see it's 45%, which is basically this number right here. If we go 0, it's 0. If we do 1, it's 20%. So there we go. So now we want to take that 20% and multiply it by the sum of all of these fees. So what we'll do, we'll go here. This is that number. We'll multiply it by the sum. And here we'll take this base fee for the unit, comma. We'll take this distance fee, comma. And then we'll grab all of these fees here. So again, I'm just going to drop this all the way down like this. I'm going to close parentheses here, hit enter. And at this point, this should not be a percentage anymore. It's just going to be a dollar amount. So that will be our fee to go one level up. So now if I go to 0, see, that would be 0 charge for that. If I go 2, it will be now, well, 45% of our total. I'll go to 1 for now. So now if we add it all together, that should be our current total. And on top of this, if we need packing material, we want to add fees for packing materials. Now, our fees for packing materials are here, depending on unit size. And then we also have packing material fee depending on the item we got. So first, let's take care of this unit size packing material fee. So I'll just go to this and I'll do that, I guess, next to this unit size for now. We'll see if we're going to move it or not. But for now, I'll just do a VLOOKUP. We'll point to that 2-bedroom, comma. Again, we'll go to fees, select our table, comma. This time it's going to be third column for packing material fees and 0 for exact match. So that tells us 85 for that 2-bedroom size, which is correct. So then we want to have something similar to this for each item over here, which we can do similar to how we did this. So largely it's going to be the same formula. So if I just grab this formula I already did, I'm going to copy that, hit escape, paste it over here like so. The only difference, instead of column 2, I'm going to hit enter for now. Column 2 in our items table here is fees. Packing material is column 3. So we'll just go back and update this to the 3. And other than that, that should be good. We still have to multiply by quantity to get the right amount. So this gives us our packing material for all of these. Now, I don't want to display these line items here. I just want to get the total of these, basically sum this all up. So what I'll do, I'll go back here and we'll just wrap this whole thing in a sum function. And there it is, 90. So there's going to be this $90 for all of these. And then we need to add this 85 to it. We could do this all in the same formula. So if I just copy this, delete this, I can go here and just add this. So if I hit enter, that will be $175 packing material. Now, I only want to add this charge if this box is checked. Now, first of all, let's just move this formula. So I'm just going to select the formula, Command X or Control X to copy it, and I'll paste it here. I want to have it next to this packing material right there. Now, currently, this is not checked, so this should really be 0. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this whole thing, and I'm going to put that inside of another if function. So I'll do if, I'll click on this checkbox. So if that checkbox is checked, comma, then I would like to do this formula that I had before, which would calculate our total. I'll go after this whole thing, comma, otherwise, the fee should be 0. So I'll do this, hit enter, and you can see currently that's 0. If I check the box, that's now 175. Uncheck, that goes here, check, that goes to 175. Again, all of this will update. If we, for example, change this to 1 bedroom, the fee and everything else is gonna auto-calculate here. And maybe now, because it's a 1 bedroom, we're not gonna have all these full-size beds. We can clear that, and that will be reflected here. And of course, if we go and update these things, it should just update. The last thing left to do here is to get the actual total. So I'll probably just put that on top. And for that, we'll just start with equals, and we'll just basically just sum all of these. Now, I could just do what it says, but I'm gonna just separate this into different sums. So I'll grab this plus, then I'll do another sum, and I'll grab this. And for this one, I want to keep going if we keep adding more. So I'm going to drop the end reference, close parentheses, and I'm going to hit enter. And this will be our total overall fee based on our current fee structure. So I'll just call this column inputs. And at this point, we can color code this a little bit to make it look nicer, I guess. So I'll start by removing the grid lines. I'll add some borders, maybe here. And also here. Some background colors for our headers. Change the font color maybe too. Apply the same for these. Unit size. Since I made this one bold, maybe make these bold too. Anything that's a formula calculation, I want to make sure it has some sort of different background. These are manual entries for quantities. These are manual entries right here, so we can check and change those boxes. This is a formula. So at this point, there's only one thing left, and that would be, if you remember, I had this minimum charge overall. So if the total ends up being less than 300, we want to have a minimum charge of 300 here. So let's add that to this whole thing too. Now, first of all, let's see if we can even get it to that low here. So we'll do studio. That still ends up being above that 300, which I defined. I guess to make sure this whole thing works, let's go and change that minimum to 350. So we'll have that as a minimum charge, which means what I'm going to do here, when I got my overall total, I'm going to take this and put it in a max function. I'm going to say either that, comma, or I'll go to my fees and grab that minimum charge here. Close parentheses, hit enter, and we got 350 because our minimum was lower than that. However, if I go here and update things, see, once that number is above, then we basically just go to that number. And at this point, we should be able to just go and update our fee structure any way we like here. And that should update automatically here without changing any of our formulas. Just as an example, if I go and lower the amount for studio here, the base fee to say 125, maybe we'll lower our minimum charge back to 300, and maybe also decrease packing material for this. Again, based on all of those things, we should have our new amount, which is apparently this number. And again, as we update this, maybe no packing material on this. And maybe we would like to have some sort of large item as a sofa or something like that. So I can go here and add that to my list. How much that's going to cost. And packing material for this. Let's make this whole area currency like this. So now we're going to go add that sofa to this list too. And we should be able to now just use it. So if I add one, see, it automatically becomes a part of this. So if I remove that sofa, that should go down by $65. And if I have two of them, it goes up by that much. And after this, you can take some time to design this even better and make it prettier, I guess. That would be up to you. But for me, that should do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.